What if I told you that what truly turns women on isn't what you've been told? It's not your six-pack. It's not your car. It's not your perfect pickup line. It's something far more powerful and far more misunderstood. It's your boundaries, not the fake, chest-thumping kind. Not manipulative rules made to test her. I'm talking about real masculine boundaries, the ones built on deep self-respect, unshakable purpose, and the quiet strength of a man who refuses to bend just to be liked. Because here's the truth, most men never realize boundaries don't push women away. They pull them in, not by force, not by pressure, but by presence. In this video, we're diving into 6 specific boundaries that make high-value women stop, pay attention, and shift the way they see you. And boundary number 6. That one doesn't just protect your peace. It reshapes her perception of who you are and even more, how she feels about herself in your presence. If you've ever been told that being too much or too unavailable turns women off, stick around. Because this isn't about playing hard to get. This is about becoming the kind of man she instinctively wants to chase. Comment, I'm ready to raise my standard if that's the man you're becoming. Boundary 1. The unavailable advantage. Let's begin with the most misunderstood boundary a man can set, and yet, it's the one that changes everything. It's this: your time is not community property. It belongs to you. Now, at first, that might feel selfish. You delay your response to her message. You don't pause your day every time her name lights up your phone. You don't rearrange your priorities just because she suddenly feels like seeing you, and your mind starts to panic. Wait, am I pushing her away? Won't she think I don't care? What if she moves on to someone more attentive? But here's where the old pattern ends. Because when you stop making yourself constantly available, you send a message. Not with words, but with energy. You're saying, I live a life of value. I don't pause my momentum for temporary attention. That energy, it speaks louder than any compliment, any clever text, any perfectly timed emoji. Because here's the truth, men who are always available appear empty, and women can feel it. If your world has no gravity of its own, she won't want to orbit it. But when you have direction, when you have discipline, when your day is filled with mission, not distraction, you become rare. And in a world of constant accessibility, rarity is irresistible. That little pause before you text back, that moment when she's not sure where she fits into your world. That's the spark. That's the pull. That's the mystery. It makes her wonder what kind of man doesn't chase because he doesn't need to. You're not ignoring her. You're inviting her subtly, powerfully into a life that's already in motion. Because when your schedule reflects discipline, not desperation, when you choose presence over reaction, you shift the entire dynamic. She doesn't feel like she has you. She feels she needs to earn you. That's not arrogance. That's standard. That's boundary. And here's what makes it magnetic. You're not playing games. You're not using silence to manipulate. You're simply honoring your time and that quiet self-respect. It radiates. Now, ask yourself, have you ever made yourself too available, only to watch her slowly lose interest? Not because you were rude, but because you made it too easy. Most men have, but the men, she can't forget the ones she keeps thinking about long after the conversation ends, are the ones who didn't drop everything, the ones who had something greater anchoring their day. So, if that's you now, or the man you're becoming, comment, I protect my time below. Because the first boundary isn't about pushing her away. It's about building a life so full of purpose that if she wants to be part of it, She has to meet you there. Boundary 2, the no apology rule. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood displays of strength, saying no with zero guilt. Not aggressively, not with coldness, just clearly, calmly, and without the need to justify your existence. Most men have been conditioned to say yes by default, to go along, keep the peace, and avoid disappointing her. But every time you abandon what you really feel just to avoid a reaction, you silently shrink. And she feels it. It's not the no that causes friction, it's the energy behind it. Picture this. She invites you to something that doesn't align with your time, energy, or values. You want to say no, but fear kicks in. So you say, "I'm really sorry. I have this thing, but maybe I can cancel. Or move it, I'll try." I promise. That's not strength. That's permission-seeking disguised as consideration. You're not protecting the relationship, you're weakening it. Because when you dilute your truth, you send the message, "My time isn't worth defending. I need approval to live honestly." Now, compare that to this: "I won't be able to make it, but I hope it goes well. Let's catch up later this week." Polite, grounded, no need for defense. That version of no doesn't repel her, it earns her respect. Because a man who can say no with peace in his tone and purpose in his step, he's not cold. He's centered. He knows that protecting his time isn't rejection, it's leadership. In a world full of men trying to please everyone, a man who owns his choices stands out. You don't have to explain every decision. You don't have to cushion your truth with 3 layers of apology. You don't have to fear being misunderstood by people who were never committed to understanding you in the first place. You just have to trust yourself. Because confidence doesn't always speak loudly. Sometimes it just says what it means once and moves on. So here's the question. Have you ever felt yourself backpedal just to avoid disappointing someone? Have you ever softened a no so much it didn't even sound like a boundary anymore? If so, you're not alone. But from this moment forward, you don't have to do that anymore. You're not here to apologize for having standards. You're here to honor them. Comment, no guilt, no apology, if you're ready to speak with strength and live with clarity. Boundary 3. The respect reflex. Let's talk about something most men overlook, not because they're weak, but because they were never taught to notice it. Disrespect isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. It doesn't come with yelling or open insults. It shows up in moments that pass so quickly. You might not even recognize them until they've already sunk in, like the eye roll when you're speaking, the sarcastic jab about your job, the dismissive comment in front of her friends, that joke she says in fun that cuts just a little too deep. And what do most men do? They laugh it off. They shrug and say, "She's just joking." They let it slide. But here's what no one tells you. Letting those things slide doesn't make you calm. It makes you invisible. Not to the world, to her. Because whether she realizes it consciously or not, she's watching. She's registering how you respond when someone disrespects you, especially when that someone is her. And if you won't stand up for yourself in the small moments, she'll stop trusting you in the big ones. Because deep down, every woman is asking one question: can this man hold the frame? Not just when it's easy, not just when things are going well, but when she's pushing boundaries. Even subtly, if you respond with silence, if you retreat, if you pretend it doesn't bother you, you don't look confident. You look unsure, and when you're unsure, you stop being the gravity she orbits. and start becoming the background she ignores. Now, I'm not saying you need to explode. This isn't about anger, ego, or dominance. This is about calm strength. When she crosses a line, even with a playful smirk or a seemingly harmless joke, you look her in the eye and say one thing: I don't let people speak to me like that. That's it. No drama, no lecture, no emocional spiral, just presence, just clarity. And that one sentence, it does what 1,000 sweet texts and flowers never could. It signals to her, this man respects himself, and if I want to be close to him, I'll need to rise to that level. Because here's the truth: when you calmly call out subtle disrespect, she doesn't pull away. She leans in. She feels safer. She softens. Because she sees that you won't fold under pressure. You become the structure. You become the boundary. And in your presence, she feels free to be fully feminine. Because you're holding the frame. So let me ask you this: have you ever walked away from a conversation and something didn't sit right? You couldn't name it. You couldn't explain it. But deep down, you knew. You let something pass, and it cost you more than you thought. That's what this boundary is about. The little moments, the micro tests, the quiet disrespect that chips away at your presence until one day she no longer sees you as the man she once admired. If you've ever felt that shift, comment, I hold the frame. Because from now on, you're not letting things slide. You're setting the tone. You're defining the space. And you're doing it not with noise, but with quiet, undeniable strength. Boundary 4. The calm test. There's a quiet boundary that separates grounded men from the ones who constantly chase approval. It's called emotional composure. Not the fake kind, where you suppress everything, but the real kind, where your reactions don't get hijacked by someone else's behavior. Because here's something few men realize: a woman will test your center long before she trusts your depth, and the test rarely looks like a challenge. It comes in casual forms: a teasing comment, a sarcastic remark, a bold question meant to stir just a little discomfort. She doesn't do it maliciously. She's simply reading your emotional calibration. And most men, they fail instantly. They get defensive. They over-explain. They try to fix the discomfort or change her opinion. Or they go silent, shrinking into themselves. But here's what that tells her: this man is reactive. He's not rooted in who he is. He can't hold intensity. And if you can't hold emotional intensity, you can't hold her respect, no matter how kind, attractive, or successful you are. Now contrast that with a different kind of man. The man who pauses, the man who lets the moment breathe, the man who smirks not in arrogance, but in awareness, and says, interesting. You test guys this quickly, in that moment. He doesn't just pass the test, he rewrites it. Because calm isn't weakness, it's power under control. When a woman sees that she can't shake your foundation, she relaxes, she softens, she feels safe in your presence because you're not rattled by surface-level tension. And something deeper happens too. She becomes curious. If he's this grounded under pressure, what else is he unshakable about? That question unlocks respect, intrigue, and a deeper level of connection. Because you're no longer another man trying to prove his worth. You're the man who owns his state, regardless of what anyone throws his way. Emotional control doesn't mean you're emotionless. It means you lead the space with presence, not panic, with self-command, not insecurity. This boundary doesn't require big speeches or loud energy. It's subtle. It's internal. It shows up in your eyes, your breath, the way your tone stays grounded, while other men scramble to pass invisible tests. You remain still. You respond, but you don't react. And in doing so, you shift the dynamic entirely. She stops testing. She starts trusting, because the calmest man in the room is often the one with the deepest power, not because he demanded control, but because he never gave it away in the first place. Boundary 5, the authority silence. There's a moment when most men give away their power, and they don't even realize it. It's not when they lose their temper. It's not when they beg. It's when they feel the need to explain themselves. You see, a man who constantly explains isn't just offering clarity. He's unconsciously seeking approval. Instead of stating his position and moving forward, he dresses it up, softens the edges, wraps it in disclaimers, long texts, and nervous smiles, just to make sure it doesn't come off too strong. But here's the truth. Certainty doesn't come with a speech. It comes with presence, and a man who's certain doesn't negotiate the truth. Take a simple example. One man says, "Hey, I won't be able to make it tonight. I've had a long week. Work's been exhausting, and I just need a bit of rest. Hope that's okay with you. Sorry again." He thinks he's being polite, but what she hears is, "I'm not sure if I'm allowed to prioritize myself. Please don't be upset." Now, contrast that with this, "Won't make it tonight. Let's talk later this week." It's direct. It's grounded. And most importantly, it doesn't ask for permission. This is what I call the authority silence. It's the boundary that separates men who lead from men who plead. Because when you constantly feel the need to be understood, you'll end up shrinking to fit what others find acceptable. And here's what women intuitively know: the man who can speak without needing to justify, who can say no without buffering it with guilt, who doesn't feel compelled to soften the blow of his truth. That's the man who makes her pause. Not because he's harsh, but because he's solid. Real masculine energy doesn't explain itself. It expresses once, then goes quiet. Not in anger, not in retreat, but in clarity. It's the silence that follows a firm statement. The kind of silence that says, "I meant what I said, and I don't need you to agree." That silence, that's where your authority lives. And let me be clear, this doesn't mean you're rude. It means your choices don't need cushioning. You don't owe a speech every time you assert yourself. Because the more you explain, the more you sound like you're not sure. Confidence is not verbose. It's efficient. It's steady. It's quiet. Think of the leaders you respect. They don't argue their position. They own it. So here's your rule. Speak once. Mean it. Then be still. Let your presence echo louder than your words. Let her feel that what you say stands, even when there's silence after it. Because when you can speak your truth and walk away without needing applause, reassurance, or permission, you stop being someone trying to win her over. You become someone she wants to align with, someone whose energy doesn't chase validation, someone who's already whole with or without her agreement. And that's the shift from explaining to embodying. That's authority silence. Boundary 6, the mission first code. Here's the truth that most men miss, and it's the difference between being magnetic and being replaceable. Your mission must come first. She can be part of your journey, but she must never become the journey. Let that sink in. Because when most men meet a woman they're excited about, They start shifting everything. They bend their schedule. They dull their ambition. They water down their purpose just to keep her attention. At first, it feels like connection, like effort, like doing the right thing. But under the surface, something dangerous is happening. She begins to sense that you've made her your new center, that you've stepped off your path and now orbit around her world. And while she might enjoy the flattery for a moment, the attraction starts to fade, not because you care too much, but because you stopped leading your own life. This is where polarity dies. Women don't want to be the sun you orbit. They want to feel the heat of a man who's already burning with or without them. She's drawn to your direction, to your fire, to your vision, not because it's aimed at her, but because it's not. You want to be the man who wakes up with a reason, who protects his priorities, who doesn't abandon his mission just to keep the peace. That kind of man creates gravity, and that gravity pulls her in, not out of obligation, but out of instinct, because she knows if you're willing to stay the course when love tempts you to stray, then you're not just some guy. You're a man of purpose, and that's the man she can't forget. So, here's the test. Look at your daily actions. Are they aligned with your mission or with her moods? Have you built a life she can join? Or are you reshaping yourself to fit into hers? Remember this, she doesn't want to be your whole world. She wants to join a world worth entering, one that's already in motion, because when she meets a man who is moving forward, not chasing, not waiting, she feels something rare. She feels admiration. She feels respect. And eventually, she feels desire, not for what you've done for her, but for the life you're building without needing her. That's the paradox. You become more attractive, not by chasing her, but by chasing something bigger than her. Your mission is not a threat to connection. It's the foundation of real connection. So guard it, live it, and let the right woman earn a place beside it, not in place of it. Bonus boundary 7, the no fixing rule. There's one boundary most men miss, not because they're careless, but because they care too much. It's called the no fixing rule. Here's how it works. She's emotional. She's venting. Maybe she's crying or spiraling. And before you even realize it, you're trying to fix it. You offer solutions. You say things like, "Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You're just overthinking. Here's what you should do." You're trying to help. That's clear. You think you're being supportive. But to her, it doesn't feel that way. Because when you try to fix her feelings, you're unintentionally sending this message. Your emotions are wrong. Let me override them with logic. And that's the exact moment she starts to pull back. What most men don't understand is this. A woman doesn't need you to solve her emotions. She needs you to hold space for them. That means being fully present without flinching, interrupting, judging, or trying to redirect the conversation. It means listening with your eyes, your body, and your stillness. Because your strength isn't proven in how quickly you end her pain, it's revealed in how calmly you can sit with it. And this is where the real shift happens. When you stop trying to control the storm, and instead anchor yourself in it, she feels something rare: safety. Not the safety of being rescued, but the safety of being seen, heard, and felt without being minimized. And that's where trust is born. Understand this. A man who can remain calm and centered in the face of feminine emotion is incredibly attractive, not just romantically, but energetically, because he's not reacting. He's not solving. He's holding. And when a woman feels held emotionally, not grabbed, not rushed, not managed, she melts. Not because you gave her advice, but because you gave her presence. Let me say this clearly. You don't need the right words. You need the right energy. Women don't remember your perfect logic. They remember how you made them feel when they were vulnerable. So the next time she's overwhelmed, don't rush in to fix. Don't treat her heart like a puzzle to be solved. Sit. Stay still. Let her feel what she needs to feel, and let your presence be the permission for her to go through it without shame. Because the man who doesn't flinch when she's emotional, the man who doesn't interrupt her release, the man who simply breathes and stays grounded, that man becomes unforgettable. He's not the solution to her storm. He's the calm within it. And in today's world of distraction, reaction, and emotional panic, that kind of man, the one who holds space without fear, is rare. And when she finds him, she won't want to let go. Bonus boundary. 8. The mystery principle. Here's a truth no one tells you. The more she knows about you too soon, the faster the attraction fades. In a world addicted to instant access, endless texts, late-night calls, and social media confessions, men have forgotten the art of mystery. They think being emotionally open means sharing every story, every scar, every childhood trauma by the second date. But here's what that does. It drains the tension. It kills the curiosity, and it tells her there's nothing left to discover. Women aren't drawn to men who lay their lives bare too early. They're drawn to men who reveal themselves with intention, piece by piece, like chapters of a novel you can't put down. This doesn't mean you should hide or play games. It means you protect your story. You don't turn every conversation into a therapy session. You don't hand her your emotional resume hoping to win approval. Instead, you let her wonder, let her lean in, let her ask. The masculine doesn't always explain itself. It doesn't dump its soul to earn connection. It creates intrigue by moving with clarity and calm. When she senses there's more to you than meets the eye, she becomes invested in finding it out. And that is where desire grows. Because it's not about how much you say, it's about what you choose not to say. The man who can sit in silence and still own the room, that's the man she can't stop thinking about. The man who smiles and listens, but doesn't overshare. The man who gives glimpses, not his entire blueprint. That man becomes magnetic. He's not cold. He's composed. He's not distant. He's discerning. He doesn't fear intimacy. He respects timing. And in doing so, he creates something most men never will. Emotional tension. You don't need to impress her with tragic backstories or overanalyze your past. You need to let your presence do the speaking. Let your energy create the pull. She should feel honored when you open up because you don't offer your depth to just anyone. You unfold with purpose. And that makes every revelation feel earned, not expected. The truth is, when a woman feels there's still more to learn about you, she doesn't walk away. She stays curious. She keeps returning just to turn the next page. So here's your challenge. Don't overexpose. Don't over-explain. Don't let your past become your identity in the first hour. Instead, let her feel the gravity of what you withhold. Because the man who holds something back, not out of fear, but out of strength, becomes the story she wants to keep reading. What your boundaries reveal isn't just how you treat others, it's how deeply you respect yourself. Every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to who you truly are. And that doesn't go unnoticed. Women might not voice it out loud, but they feel it. A man who stands firm in his truth commands more than attention, he commands respect. You're not chasing validation anymore. You're not adjusting yourself to fit into her life. You're setting the bar and letting her decide if she can rise to meet it. That's power. That's masculine alignment. That's the energy she doesn't forget. So let me ask you, which boundary from today's video struck the deepest chord? Which one challenged you to think differently? Drop it in the comments below. I read every single one. If this message sparked something in you, if it reminded you of the man you've always known you could be, then hit that like button, subscribe to the Stoic Spirit, and turn on the bell for more insight-driven content. This isn't about pretending to be powerful. It's about becoming unshakable. Until next time, stay rooted, stay real, and stay rare.